My AirTag that I put on my dog showed that he spent 4 hours at the police station while I was at work. I attached an AirTag to my dog Noodle's collar because he's a Houdini who escapes our yard about once a week. I figured if he got out again, I could track him down quickly instead of driving around the neighborhood yelling his name like a lunatic. Last Tuesday, I was at work when I got a notification that Noodle had left our property. I checked the app and watched his little dot moving through the neighborhood. He stopped at a coffee shop for a few minutes, then continued down Main Street. I assumed he was just wandering and would eventually come home, but then I watched his location stop at the police station and stay there for the next 4 hours. I called the station and asked if they had a brown pit bull mix there. The officer said, "Oh yeah, Noodle's here. He's been here since noon. You can pick him up whenever." I asked how Noodle ended up at the police station, and the officer said he walked in through the front door during lunch rush and just made himself at home. I asked if he caused any problems, and the officer said no. He's actually been helping with our community outreach day. The kids love him. I said, "I'm sorry, what?" He said they had a bunch of elementary school kids there for a field trip, and Noodle started doing tricks for them. Been great. I left work and drove to the station. When I walked in, Noodle was sitting in the lobby wearing a police vest that someone had put on him. There were kids everywhere, petting him and taking photos. An officer came over and said, "You must be Noodle's owner. He's been the star of the show today." I said I was so sorry and didn't know how he got there. She said they checked his tag and were about to call me, but he seemed to be having such a good time with the kids that they figured they'd wait. Another officer came over and said, Noodle helped them explain what police dogs do. He's actually better at demonstrations than their actual K9 unit. I asked what demonstrations, and he said Noodle knows how to play dead, roll over, and shake, so they incorporated that into the presentation. The kids thought he was an official police dog. I said he's definitely not trained for police work. The officer said, "Could have fooled us. He responded to every command perfectly." I asked how Noodle even knew to come to the police station, and an officer said they have therapy dogs that visit sometimes. Maybe he picked up the scent and followed it. I said that seemed unlikely, but I didn't have a better explanation. I put Noodle's leash on and thanked everyone for watching him. A kid came up and asked if Noodle was going to come back next week. I said, probably not. This was a one-time thing. Noodle escaped again the following Tuesday at the exact same time. I checked the AirTag and watched him follow the exact same route to the police station. I called and asked if Noodle was there, and the officer laughed and said, "Yeah, he's here. We were wondering if he'd show up again." I said I'd come get him. She said they actually had another school group coming in an hour, and asked if I'd mind if he stayed. The kids from last week had been asking about him. I said, "I guess that's fine." She said great and told me they'd call when they were done. 3 hours later, I got a call saying Noodle was ready to be picked up. When I arrived, he was wearing a little badge someone had made him that said Officer Noodle. The kids had taken group photos with him, and one teacher told me they'd been talking about Noodle all week. This continued for 6 weeks. Every Tuesday, Noodle would escape and go to the police station for their community outreach program. I finally just started dropping him off myself instead of waiting for him to escape. The police asked if I'd be willing to let Noodle become an official therapy dog for their department. I said sure, and now Noodle has a job with the police department every Tuesday afternoon. He has his own vest, his own badge, and his own parking spot. It's technically for me when I drop him off, but they made him a little sign anyway. The kids call him Officer Noodle, and he's become a minor celebrity in our town. People recognize him at the grocery store and ask to take photos. The police station posts pictures of him on their Facebook page, and he has more likes than any of the actual officers. My favorite part is that Noodle still escapes our yard regularly, but now instead of chasing him, I just check the AirTag to see where he's headed. Last month he showed up at a nursing home and spent the afternoon visiting residents. The staff called me and asked if he could come back weekly, so now Noodle has 2 jobs: police station therapy dog on Tuesdays and nursing home visitor on Thursdays.